I do love that smell. Hi, I'm Joshua. Welcome to my author channel. Today I would like to continue my discussion on A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin by just talking about some more of the stuff that I love about it. You know, it really did begin, I think, the process of me ultimately deciding to become a writer myself because I mean, up to that time, 14 or 15 years old, I'd never seen anything like this in my life. You know, the so many different characters definitely helps with the undiagnosed ADHD in me of like, oh yeah, there's this going on over here. Oh, there's over this over there. Oh, there's a whole other continent with this lady. And it's exciting in that regard. There's so much more happening. Martin has described A Song of Ice and Fire as medieval World War II, and how, like, previous people who came to him for adaptations, he always said no because they just wanted to do John at the Wall and just do his thing, or just do Daenerys, or just do Eddard. And that missed the point. It's everybody. If you only adapt one storyline, you aren't doing the story. Now, of course, later seasons stopped adapting anything and they just went off. But plenty of people have gone into multi-hour long discussions for why the last 4 seasons are a total travesty of that. Uh, but at least the books are still good. I'm still doing my reread. I'm almost done with The Clash of Kings, and I'll talk about that then. So I'll see how I think of these two when I get there. Don't remember liking them nearly as much, but hey, still better than what we got in the show. But anyway, we're back. We're still in the first book. So the prologue introduces us to the big supernatural bad guys, the others, with their shimmery armor that helps them vanish almost completely in the darkness, and their strange blades that again shimmer and shift and weirdness, and the ice and the cold. They are ice necromancers ultimately, and that's really cool. But then we meet the Stark family, and it's I noticed some of the themes going on more this time around, with meeting the dire wolves and the symbolism going on, and the bad omen of it was a stag's antler that killed the direwolf mother. And like, oh, what does that mean? Oh, the king is coming. Like, this is not good. Like that. I don't really think, at least I don't remember really latching on to that as much. But this time around, it really stuck out to me as like, wow, okay, cool. Yeah, because people talk about A Song of Ice and Fire as if it's really low magic. The magic is subtle, but it is potent. It is there. It is way higher fantasy than a lot of the stuff that came afterward that's, inspired by it. It's everywhere, and it's right there in that first chapter, with even Jon Snow, the bastard, getting his direwolf, which was the runt of the litter, the strange one that was different than all the other pups. And it's like, wow, okay, cool, here we go. And we meet, of course, the Lannisters, Tyrion, son of Tywin, Man, what a character. What a character. And I totally understand why Peter Dinklage was more than happy to jump at the opportunity to do the adaptation version, because in fantasy, man, even in a post novels and a post show world, we don't get a whole lot of little people doing cool stuff in fantasy. And here we are with an incredibly clever dude who has all these vices, and he's definitely not intended to be a pander to this group of people type, because this came out before that was like everyone's obsession. He's a dude who's really screwed up because his dad never loved him. I mean, I'm pretty sure they went into it in this one, because again, I'm almost done with the second book now, but like, his mother died giving birth to him, and Tywin and Cersei never forgave him for that. They have hated him since the moment of his birth. Only his brother and his uncle ever showed him any amount of respect, of treating him like a person. And the whole Taisha bit, especially with what we find out in the later in Storm of Swords, it's just like Braun said an interesting thing, because if you've not read the books but are watching this video, I'll explain. Tyrion and his brother, Tyrion was about 13. They were on the road, and they chased off some bandits who had been chasing this girl about his age, peasant girl, and he just fell into love lust, whatever, and they ran off and got married. And then Tywin finds out after like a fortnight. And what happens next, I probably can't describe on YouTube if I want to get any views. And Bronn, the sellsword that Tyrion told this story to, then says, at 3, 13, or 30, I'd have killed the man who did that to me. So yeah, that's Tywin. That's this dude's father. Like, my God. And of course, I mean, I can't really discuss this without bringing the show in, because way more people have watched it, and it's what introduced me to A Song of Ice and Fire. I like the books better, obviously, but that is how I got started with it. So Charles Dance's version, I mean, he brings so much charisma, and there's definitely a different vibe, I think, because of the fantastic performance. But Book Tywin specifically, I mean, he's really clever with how he plays up to the mountain men's ego. Like, oh yeah, my men are too afraid to go into battle against this guy. I've heard that you guys are really tough, kind of thing, and that was awesome. But yeah, he's just a cold-blooded, uh, uh, such a great villain, though, as an aspiring author, looking at it from a writing perspective. My God, the his own father issues that we learn about later on, and all this stuff is just, oh, the character work is so good. But anyway, enough of Tyrion, because he doesn't have a whole lot to do in this book. I mean, he gets Catelyn takes him hostage and then brings him to the Eyrie, and he's able to smart his way out of that. But that's kind of all he really does, except, get drunk and be clever, which is fine. I mean, it's the first book in the series, and we have plenty of other stuff happening. He gets to really be highlighted in the second book, so I'm excited to talk about that when that happens. But yeah, other characters. We have Daenerys Targaryen, which apparently a bunch of people named their kids after, which is interesting. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you're gonna name your kid after a fictional character, I get it, but sucks to have to spell that name in school or have your teacher spell it. Yeah, she's got it pretty rough, man. She's sold by her brother to, you know, a Khan, basically, because the Dothraki, as Martin calls it, but as everybody else says, the Dothraki are based off of, I don't know if it's a specific North American tribe, but like North American Indians and the Mongols, basically. They're kind of a synergy of those two, and man, that is a heck of a combo. We don't, like, it's interesting. We only have a handful of Dothraki characters. We don't spend a whole lot of time with them, but they have such a presence. And discussing show versus books, I think a lot of people were brought in by Jason Momoa's charisma, whereas book Drogo, I mean, we see him through the eyes of Daenerys, obviously, and she does come to a sort of Stockholm Syndrome version of loving him, but man, he's a bad dude. I mean, he is more than fine with marrying a 13-year-old, which is, I mean, hey, different times, you know, his history was like that. I mean, he has a Khalazar of 40,000, tons of which are slaves and, you know, were captured by raiding. I mean, he's more than happy to sit in Vase Dothrak and drink with the other Khals and with their Khalazars, because you're not allowed to spill blood in Vase Dothrak, the capital of Dothraki society. But as soon as you're out, man, as soon as you're out of there, he will just put you down and enslave your Khalazar. Man, no hesitation at all. And I mean, he wouldn't have become a Khal if he wasn't like that. That's just how their society works. But just, man, that's just rough stuff, man. And Dany herself, of course, is coming into, as a lot of us in today's day and age would think way too quickly, becoming a woman, having to grow up very fast, becoming a mother that then fails because she tried to save him but was manipulated by a Meiji who had every reason to do what she did and do the black magic stuff or the blood magic stuff that she did. And it's just, oh, that was something I also found very interesting here, where, like, yeah, she's, once her brother, once Viserys is put down, which really needed to happen. He was awful, you know, he thought he was a dragon, but as Dany said, fire doesn't burn dragons. Molten gold crown. Have your crown, Cart King. And he was a cart king because he rode in a cart, and that's what, you know, the cripples do, as they would call them, the handicappers and the old and the enfeebled, and of course Dothraki society, that's lowest of the low, and so Cart King was a whole thing that again was not included in the show, but hey, you gotta leave some things out, and the first season did a really good job of keeping most of the important things, so it's not, you know, oh my god, it's so terrible kind of situation. But yeah, she's got to grow up way too fast and learns about betrayal, and I mean, she's totally justified in not weeping when her husband killed her brother. Like, wow, man, it's some wild stuff. And I mean, sure, I'd seen some horror movies and things up to then, but that was definitely unprecedented for my teenage psyche to see that. Just wow, okay, here we go. It's just awful, just truly awful. Um, yeah, let's see. We have Jon Snow, of course, who again doesn't have a whole lot to do in this book except stop being a bully. Like he came in there, I'm the best fighter here, man, yeah, and just going way too hard on the other students until the blacksmith called him out, saying that, yeah, you had a man at arms, like a world class swords fighter as your teacher for like your whole life. Coming here to the wall was the first time some of these boys have ever held a sword. Which is like, And so it's kind of interesting because he's very mopey in the beginning, but he starts to kind of come around to accepting the vows that he was sort of tricked into taking. But I mean, he kind of knew what he was getting into by the time he did take the vows. It wasn't like he was a criminal who'd been drafted and it's like you leave before your vows and you're gonna be executed anyway. It was, I mean, again, 14-year-old kid making a permanent life decision is not the greatest, but I mean, that's how this society functions. And so he kind of took on the big brother thing with Samwell Tarly, the self-proclaimed coward, which was as John, I forget if it was an internal thought or just part of the text, the regular text, but it took a certain type of courage for a man to admit to being a coward, especially in a very valor, honor-based place like the Wall and just Westerosi society in general. So that was their budding friendship is definitely heartwarming. One of the few heartwarming things that remains mostly that way throughout the books. Most of the rest of it gets crushed very quickly. Um, yeah, let's see. Catelyn. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about her. She's a well-written character. Some people think that she's just an awful, awful person. Other people think that she's totally justified in her hatred toward Jon because she thinks that he is her husband's bastard. I mean, I'm assuming that the reveal in the show is the reveal in the books. I mean, he supposedly gave them his general outline for the later stuff, so I'm assuming that's Jon's real mother's identity. Like, we know that now, and the books seemingly give that foreshadowing enough that people had kind of figured that out already. And so, yeah, I don't know. She doesn't... I don't have anything against the character. It's just... she doesn't really stand out to me too much. Like Dany, I like her coming into her own arc, where she's, by the end of it, the Khaleesi of Khalasar, because she gave birth to the dragons, man. After a century of no dragons, almost no magic, she brought them forth with the blood sacrifice of the Magi, which was, whew, real funky. That was, so that was a really cool, like, character arc she had. But Catelyn in this book doesn't really have much of an arc. She just assumes that her childhood friend Littlefinger told her the truth, which, not the best decision. Yeah, trusting him is, I mean, it cost Ned his head, so not the best decision. Trusting Littlefinger. I guess that brings me down around to Eddard Stark and the the proper Starks, you know, him and his daughters, go to King's Landing because the king thinks of him as a brother, truly, like, way more than his own biological brothers. Eddard is his brother in arms. They won the crown together, among other people. Obviously, it was a multi-year long war, so it wasn't just those two, but they did that. They had the bonding. They were, and of course they squired together under Jon Arryn, and the whole inciting incident for the entire thing is Jon Arryn's death and apparent poisoning and all of that craziness. Like, there's so much. I'm already 20 minutes in. There's no way I can talk about everything. I don't want to go on and on and on. But yeah, just the whole King's Landing plot, and Arya being the ultimate tomboy, and Sansa being a very, like, traditional princess type. Like, she's definitely the kind who, with 7 mattresses, still knows that there's a pea under her bed, as that, you know, old story goes. And they just do not get along at all. And Eddard, oh, poor Eddard. Oh, he knew it. He should not have listened to Catelyn. He should have stayed in Winterfell. I mean, obviously, the story would not have happened if he had defied his king, which Robert would have been angry, but he probably would have said yes ultimately if he really, like, gave his case hard enough. But he didn't try because, oh, Jon Arryn was poisoned. It was probably the Lannisters. We need to find out what happened. But yeah, he had no business going south. And man, he brought his daughters into that viper pit that is King's Landing. And I'd forgotten how many chances he had leading up to the end, after he's found out the truth of Joffrey's heritage, because of the seed is strong, with Baratheon hair color being dark, even though none of Cersei's 3 children have dark hair. They are as blonde as she and her twin brother are. I wonder who threw Bran out the window. It's a heck of a way to end, like, page 70 or whatever that was. I saw someone mention that Bran being thrown out the window was when they realized, oh, this is not like other fantasy books from way back in the day when that was not normal for fantasy. And it seems that's not normal anymore. So, stay tuned for my own books. But yeah, I'd forgotten how many chances he had. Renly was straight up like, let's take the throne right now, because the boar had torn open Robert, and he was, you know, had him write his last declaration as the king of the 7 kingdoms, and he could have waltzed in there with men and with Renly and taken the throne for himself, or given it off to Renly, and again, none of the rest of the series would have happened the way it did. So from a writing perspective, I love what happened. From a readership perspective, no, oh, why? But yeah, he had that chance. And then Littlefinger, right afterward, like, it might have even been in the same chapter, was like, so you want to give the throne to Stannis because it's his right, you know, even though Viserys claimed that he had the right, Dany thinks she has the right, Robert claimed it through slaughter, and then he took the right. Don't get me started on that whole concept. You know, human perception, whoa. But yeah, you know, it's like, so Littlefinger's like, you're gonna put this guy on the throne. He doesn't like me, meaning I'm probably gonna lose my position, and he doesn't like you. Are you sure you want to do that? And I kind of read it this time through as like, almost speaking to like a child, like, are you sure you want to do that? And Ned's like, yes, he has the right. Renly has no claim. This is what we're doing. And then he was surprised when he placed all of his trust in Littlefinger to help him ensure that Joffrey doesn't take the throne. And it blew up in his face and ended up getting him executed. Even though everyone was surprised when he was executed there, Sansa was still in love with Joffrey, which is just, oh, it's so sad. Oh, it's so sad. I feel so, like, I used to not like her. And now I feel really bad for her. Like, she did nothing. I mean, granted, she told Cersei about his plan, about her father's plan, trusting literally the last person she should have with that. But she's an 11-year-old girl, infatuated by love. Yeah, that went really well. She's never going to make that mistake again. I really hope we get to... it sucks that we're probably not going to get the rest of the books, because I'm really hype for her character arc, written by George R.R. Martin, not the Z tier version that we got in the show, but like actually Martin's version of her coming into her womanhood and outsmarting Littlefinger. Like, God, I hope we get at least wins, and I hope that happens in wins, because that would be just, after everything that's happened, that would be so satisfying. Like, Arya's done some cool stuff. In the first book, I mean, she's learning essentially, like, fencing, I guess, would be, like, the real world sort of version of, or maybe not, even, maybe that's not what Martin was going for the water dancer style that she's learning. But, like, even in the first book, she kind of does some cool stuff, and she runs off, and she beats up Joffrey and throws his sword in the water. But Sansa has not really had a chance to do anything cool yet, and it's sad. It's really sad that we'll probably never get Martin's version of her doing cool stuff. But hey, it is what it is. He's one of my favorite writers. I can't fault him for trying to get it right. Supposedly, assuming he does actually care as much as he claims to care still. But that's a whole other discussion. So yeah, like, Eddard had his chances, and he screwed them all up. And then even Cersei and Littlefinger and Varys were horrifically surprised when Sir Ilyn bring me his head. It was just like, whoa, because we placed a 13-year-old inbred psychopath on the throne and gave him absolute authority. And the fact that I've seen some people online complain that, like, oh, yet another monarchy, meh. Well, have you studied history? Most of human history was some form of monarchy, and Martin is a history buff. Of course we have monarchy, and it's not like he's saying it's good. The entire freaking point of the series is monarchy sucks, okay? A 13-year-old boy can be crowned as the highest authority in the land, and when he orders, execute this man that we really need as a hostage. I don't care. Bring me his head now. There are men who will unquestionably do that. And then we get the War of the Five Kings. And we get the rest of the series. Because a 13-year-old boy who definitely is, like, I don't know if he's full-on Dark Triad. He doesn't strike me as Machiavellian enough. But he's definitely a psychopathic narcissist. Like, full-on sadistic psychopath. And yeah, he's just in charge, and nobody thinks, hey, this is bad. But I mean, then again, he did order that in front of a large crowd of people, so even his mother couldn't really say no at that point. Um, I guess that'll bring me over to Vari's. See, the ADHD really helps when there's this much stuff, when so many characters going on. Vari's. Even in the early seasons, they did him dirty in the show. He is so much more interesting in the books. He is so clever. I mean, he is a master of disguise. He puts on like his the only version of him really that we see in the show, very like hardly at all, is the presentation that he gives at court. The powdered hands, very like effeminate dress, silk slippers, silk clothing, that kind of thing. Um, I imagine sort of an effeminate voice, even. I don't know if that was described, but that's kind of how I hear him. And then he'll walk around as a completely different person. He'll put on fake facial hair and a fake nose, and he won't smell like, you know, lavender and all the little scents that he'll smell like horse manure, and he'll change his how he walks and his voice. And I mean, he is like the master of disguise, is the spider, the leader of the spies, the court spy master of, and it's just like whoa. And I mean, I love characters like that so much. That's just so cool. And yeah, they, even in the early seasons when his cleverness was able to show through because they were adapting Martin's version instead of writing the, you know, the crap that Dumb and Dumber put together. Um, Even in the early seasons, we didn't get that, the Master of Disguise element. Like, we got a little bit of it, I think. It's been years since I watched the show, but, like, you know, he would dress as a guard or something here and there. But, I mean, there's way more emphasis in the books. He is legitimately, like, unrecognizable to the people who spend time with him daily. Like, whoa. This is some wild stuff, and we get to see way more of that in the second book, because I'm almost done with that, and I'll make a video on that when that's there. But I've been going for 30 minutes, and it's time for me to stop. So if you liked this video, and you want to check out my own writing, you can take a look at the first 5 chapters of the first Ochre King Book 1, totally for free, with the link below. To be determined on when I finally get the book out, but it's coming together. It's exciting, and George R.R. Martin is one of the big influences for my own creativity. So hopefully I can live up to that legacy. I guess that'll be for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.